Hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for another monthly financial reset video. In this video, I'm going to be going over my income and expenses for the month of September. I'm also going to be sharing an update on the progress that I made towards my 2025 financial goals. We'll take a look at where my net worth ended up at the end of September. Also, at the end of this video, I will be doing a check-in to see how my October budget is going so far. Normally, I would do more of a budget with me, starting with a blank slate and talking through my budgeting process, but since we're already pretty much halfway through the month, I am just going to do a little check-in to see how my budget is going since I did budget off camera this month. One of the main reasons that I post videos like this is because I wish that I had come across more videos like this when I was younger and definitely not making the most financially savvy decisions. I did not know anything about finances, and it would have been so helpful for me to get a peek behind the curtain of how other people organize their money, how they spend it, how they save it, and how they invest it. So I just like to be another honest voice and perspective in the conversation of personal finance. These videos are in no way meant to brag or to set some sort of benchmark for where you should be. I'm still personally on my own financial journey figuring things out, so I'm definitely not saying that I'm doing everything correct and right. I just think transparency is so important when it comes to finances, and I just want to be another voice that is helping to break the taboo that there is around talking about money and just get more people comfortable doing it. Before we dive into the numbers, I just want to give a little bit more context that I think is important to understanding why I handle my finances the way that I do. So first of all, my name is Alyssa. I am 35 years old. I currently live in Middle Tennessee with my boyfriend Tyler and our dog Zeke. He joins me in the background of these videos quite a lot. We currently rent this townhouse that we're living in, so we do not own a home. We do not have a mortgage. I do not have any debt. I own my car, so I don't have any car payments. I do make most of my purchases on credit cards, but I pay off the statement balances every month. And as far as income, I work full-time as a remote contractor in marketing, so that's where I make the vast majority of my income. I also have several side streams of income, including this YouTube channel. So I will be going over all of that income in the next section. And the other thing you should know is that this year I am investing all of my extra income that I make outside of my marketing contractor work, because I have a huge goal this year of investing $45,000, which I will be sharing the progress on later in this video. But yeah, I think that's really all you need to know up front. So let's just hop right in. Right now, we are in the app that I use to budget and track all of my finances. It's called YNAB, or You Need a Budget. If you're interested in a free trial, I have a link in my description box below. First up, for income in the month of September, like I said, the bulk of my income comes from my marketing contractor work. I invoice my clients weekly and I make $1,550 every Monday. So since there were 5 Mondays in the month of September, I received 5 weeks of pay, which gave me a little boost and is always really great when that happens. The next source of income, I received $25 from my health insurance. They have an online portal where you can watch videos and download health PDFs and stuff, and you receive rewards that you can turn into cash back on a Visa prepaid gift card. So I was able to cash out $25 there. Next up was a $100 bank bonus that hit my new checking account that I opened. Every once in a while, I like to do bank account churning for bonuses. This one was super easy. You just had to transfer, I believe it was $2,500 into the account and then wait for your bonus to hit. So free $100, very easy. I'll link it down below. It's not an affiliate link. It's just a link to the bank's bonus page if you're interested in getting $100 for yourself. Next is cash back. All of this cash back this month was purely from my cashback credit cards. And it was also a little bit higher this month because I did have a big purchase that I put on one of my cards and I was able to cash out a large amount of cash back this month. We will be going over that expense very shortly, but $58.80 in cash back. And then the next source of income, this does not happen very often at all, probably like once a decade, but I actually won $106 from gambling. So I was in Minnesota in September for a wedding, and in Minnesota, and I think several other states, they have these things called pull tabs, which are basically like paper slots. They usually have them in certain bars and restaurants. So I purchased 10 $1 pull tabs, and I believe there were 3 winners that totaled to $106. So I profited $96, but I did give the pull tab lady the extra $6, and then I kept the 100, but then I did end up giving $40 from those winnings to my mom, who was there at this bar with me, and my boyfriend, because we were all there. My whole family was there for this wedding, and my parents ended up driving up, so they had their car, and then my boyfriend and I stayed at a hotel, and we didn't rent a car or anything because my mom offered to basically chauffeur us for a couple of days. So that was really nice, and definitely appreciated her doing that. So I gave her $40 as a thank you and to contribute to gas and such. And then I kept the remaining $40 for myself. But all in all, I did make $106 there. Next up is interest from my high yield savings accounts. I made a total of $63.26. And then last but certainly not least, I received my biggest YouTube paycheck so far, which I am so incredibly thankful for you all for liking my videos and subscribing. One of my videos recently kind of went mini viral, and my next payment this month in October will be even bigger than this one from September, but we will go over that in my next monthly reset video. I do want to thank one person. The super happy one gave me my first super thanks ever on this channel. I appreciate that so much, and that came out to an extra $1.02 after YouTube's conversion and fees. So I just wanted to give that person a huge shout out. I definitely do not expect super thanks or, you guys sending me money, but I super appreciate that. And all of that money, like I said, is going towards my investing goal this year. So all in all, my income in the month of September totaled to $8,559.58, which was a super strong month for me. And I just want to point out that all of this is my gross income. I have to pay taxes on all of this. So you'll see in my October budget how I set aside money for taxes. Next, we're going to go over my September expenses. So first up, I invested a total of $3,810. I invest $500 per week from my contractor pay. So $2,500 of that was from my normal weekly contributions from that marketing pay. And then the rest of this was all from extra income. And in the month of September, I was able to max out the employee side of my solo 401k, which this year the contribution limit is $23,500. So I'm super thankful I was able to max that out. I did have to pay quarterly taxes in September, so I put $3,500 towards that. Next up would be dining out. I spent $337.60, which is over $100 more than I usually budget for. But what happens with dining out and groceries is my boyfriend and I will split those expenses throughout the month, and instead of like Venmoing each other back and forth, I will just spend all of my grocery money, and then he'll spend his grocery money for the rest of the month, but it might not equal like what he actually has budgeted for groceries. So then we might use some of that money for dining out instead. Dining out and groceries kind of just goes back and forth for us. So for example, groceries this month, I spent $236.38, which is a little bit lower than my $300 budget that I usually set. So I used some of that grocery money to cover the extra dining out expenses. And then I believe I pulled some money from my entertainment entertainment category to cover the extra dining out. It all works out in the end. So total for food and drink, I spent $573.98. Next up would be like my variable discretionary expenses. So first up would be my gifts and good vibes. I spent a total of $110.33, and $6 of this was tipping the pull tab lady, like I mentioned. And then the rest of it, $104.33, was a wedding gift and card for my cousin who got married in Minnesota. Then for household, I spent $22.41. This was for a razor, conditioner, ibuprofen. Personal care, I spent $82.72. And this was mostly stocking up on a tinted moisturizer that I buy once every 6 to 8 months or so. I'll get 2 or 3 at a time. The place that I order from offers free shipping if you spend over $50. So that's what I usually do, is just stock up. And so it just ends up being that I spend more upfront, but then over the months, I'm not paying shipping every time, just ordering one at a time. Then for my stuff and things category, this is just a catch-all category of random physical objects that I buy. So I bought a couple of books that came out to $77.91, and then the rest of this, $124.46, was spent on my outfit for another wedding that my boyfriend and I went to in Tennessee. That was formal, and I did not have a formal dress. Next up was therapy. I spent $165 for my session. Then for travel, I spent a total of $238.20, and this was all just costs associated with going to Minnesota. So it was some parking at the airport, some coffee at the airport, and then eating out while we were in Minnesota. So total on my discretionary life variable spending was $821.03. Next up would be Zeke the Freak. On food and supplies, I spent a total of $16.44, and this was buying him some treats that we use for training. We didn't have to buy him any food or any other supplies this month, but I think we will need to buy him some food this month. And then grooming, I paid for my half $66.18. So total on Zeke, I spent $82.62. Next up would be my fixed bills and recurring expenses. The biggest one was rent. I paid $1,074 for my half, and this includes Wi-Fi and a pet fee. And then our utilities, we just have electric and water. My half of that was $145.95. Then for gym, it's $15 a month as usual. Health insurance, I pay for marketplace insurance, so I pay $62.65, and this is after a tax credit. My phone bill is $38 a month, and I'm on a family plan with my mom, so I just Venmo her every month. And then subscriptions was a little bit higher this month. I spent $139.72, but this is because I spend $107 on my yearly Google Drive storage that I use for work and personal. And the rest of this was my Hulu and Discovery Plus. Those are the 2 streaming services that I usually pay for. So all in all, for fixed and recurring, I spent $1,475.32. Then for car expenses, for gas, I just filled up one time for $42. I'm very lucky that I work from home and I don't really have to drive much of anywhere except to like the gym and the grocery store, which are very close to me. So I only need to budget for a tank of gas every month. But with that being said, my car maintenance this month was a lot. It was $1,866.42. And to be fair, I knew that this expense was coming. I was trying to put it off until next year so that I could hit my car savings goal. Currently, I'm trying to hit $10,000 in my car fund, but it just got to the point where driving around was just no longer comfortable. Basically, my AC has been going out for the last like year and a half, 2 years or so. And my car shop let me know that it was going out and how much it would be to fix it. So this cost was not a surprise at all. I knew it was coming someday, but I did decide to just bite the bullet and do it this year. And yes, I probably won't be able to hit my car savings goal this year, but that's completely fine. That's what this money is for anyway, is for car maintenance and for saving for a future car should I need one. And then this expense also included an oil change, tire rotation, and I think something else that needed to be replaced in my car. So yeah, a very heavy spend month on my car, but that's why my car fund is there. I did not have to go into debt or scrounge this money up from somewhere. I had it in my car fund ready to go, and I knew that this expense was going to come anyway. So all in all, I spent a total of $1,908.42 on my car. And then lastly, I did get a $14.51 refund that I don't count towards my income. I just count it as offsetting my expenses for the month. This refund was $14.51 that I got back from my car insurance because I decided to put my boyfriend on my insurance as an insured driver. And to my surprise, that actually lowered my premium and they sent me a refund. So all in all, in the month of September, I spent $12,156.86. So technically my net income, so my income after subtracting my expenses, was negative $3,597.28. But keep in mind, that's counting my $3,800 towards investing, my car expenses for $1,800 that I already had in my savings budgeted for, plus my quarterly tax payment I also had budgeted for. And you'll see in my budgeting section how I manage my finances in YNAB and how YNAB helps make sure that I'm not actually overspending. Next up, we're going to be going over my 2025 financial goals and the progress that I made towards them in the month of September. My first goal this year is to make $5,000 in extra income. So this is all of my side hustle income, excluding my marketing contracting work. Also, the spreadsheet that I'm using is Leila's spreadsheet here on YouTube. I will link it down below if you would like to purchase it for yourself. So in the month of September, all of that extra income from YouTube, gambling, bank bonus, interest, cashback, and my health insurance rewards all totaled to $809.58, which means I have made a total of $3,974.43 in extra income this year. So to hit this goal, I only need to make $1,025.57, which I am super confident that I will be able to do this year. So that's really exciting. Feeling really good about that goal. My next goal for this year is to make $90,000 in gross income. So this is now including my marketing contracting work on top of the extra income. I'd like to make $90,000 at least. So in September, I made $8,559.58, which means year to date, I have made $64,524.43. I have another $25,475.57 to go. This one's going to be a little tight, but I am confident that I can just barely make this goal this year, which is really exciting. So I consider myself still on track for this, even though I'm technically behind. The rest of the year should be a little bit higher income for me, so I'm still feeling good about this goal as well. My next goal was to hit $10,000 in my car fund this year. Like I said, my car fund is for buying a new car in the future. It's also for car maintenance and repairs. It's also for my insurance deductible, everything car related. I wanted to build that up to $10,000 this year. Unfortunately, in the month of September, I did go down in this fund by $1,500. So I did input some money. My car bill was, what was it, like $1,800. So I did put around $300-ish into this fund and made it just an even negative $1,500 from this goal. That brought this goal down to $7,400. And on a monthly basis, at a minimum, I put $200 into this fund. So if I keep doing that the rest of the year, I will hit $8,000 in this fund. I really don't mind just scaling back on this goal and just putting more money towards my investing goal instead. And next year I can just re-up my car fund and make another goal that really doesn't bother me. So I'm very certain that I'm not going to hit this goal this year, but that's totally fine with me. My next goal is my $45,000 investing goal. So in September, I invested a total of $3,810. So far this year, I have invested $32,313, which means I have $12,687 left to go towards this goal. I am technically behind in this goal. I should be more like 75% of the way, since we're about 75% the way through the year, or really over that because we're halfway through October already. But I'm still very confident that I can hit this goal, especially now that I've kind of given up on my car fund goal. I'm not going to be putting as much money towards that, or at least extra money. I'm just going to be doing my base contributions that I was doing to my car fund. And then that gives me extra money to put towards my investing fund. And I do think I'm going to be increasing my income a lot the rest of this year. So pretty confident. I think this one's going to be very close, and it might end up being that I'm like a few $100s behind in December. And then in that case, I might just take money from savings just purely to hit this goal and then replenish those savings in January. But yeah, super happy with my progress towards that goal so far. Then my next goal is to have $200,000 invested. And this is all of my investments excluding crypto. So this is everything that I have in my brokerage accounts, my retirement accounts. In the month of September, my investments went up a total of $9,783.05. So this includes my $3,810 that I contributed into my accounts plus growth. So it grew by almost $6,000 on top of what I contributed. So at the end of September, my investments ended at $191,952.49, which means I am just over $8,000 away from hitting that $200,000 goal. I guess we'll just see what happens the rest of the year, but I'm extremely happy with that goal as well. Last but not least is a CoastFi goal. So CoastFi, if you're not familiar, is the idea that if you stopped contributing to your investments today, never made another contribution, your investments that you have right now would continue to grow and allow you to still retire at a traditional retirement age later. So for this goal, I just wanted to hit my first milestone of hitting CoastFi for the age of 67, meaning I have enough in my investments today to be able to coast until the age of 67 and be able to withdraw $60,000 a year. And I actually already hit this goal in July, so I'm just tracking how much this is going up. Probably next year, I will make another CoastFi goal that is younger, maybe hitting CoastFi at the age of like 60 or something would be cool. But in the month of September, this goal went up to $64,852.92 is what I would be able to withdraw on an annual basis in today's dollars at the age of 67. So just a really fun goal to track. I will have a link to a CoastFi calculator in my description box below if you'd like to figure out your own CoastFi numbers. Now we're going to check in on my net worth and see the progress that I made in September. Also, please excuse the outfit change and the discontinuity. I totally forgot to film this part, so we're doing it now. I have August and September here just so that we can compare my numbers in September to how they changed from August. So in cash at the end of September, my checking, savings, and literal cash in my wallet ended at $26,072.67. So a little bit lower than August, but this can be explained by mostly that $3,500 tax payment that I made. Then my solo 401k ended at $54,819.27. So up over $4,000 from August. Most of this was the fact that I contributed that $2,997 to max it out. And then my SEP IRA ended at $33,613.84. My SEP IRA is a little redundant because as a self-employed person, I can contribute to my solo 401k as the employee and the employer. So my SEP IRA is an employer plan and it's the exact same bucket that I can contribute to my solo 401k as the employer. I think next year I probably will just end up rolling my SEP IRA into my solo 401k. The only reason that I choose to invest into this one instead of my solo 401k is purely because it's easier to transfer money online to this account. And just an FYI, my SEP IRA is a prototype plan with Schwab. It is not a standard 5305 SEP, so I am allowed to contribute to both my SEP IRA and my solo 401k for the same business in the same year. So just wanted to clear that up. Next up is my Roth IRA. I already maxed this out in January, so this is just pure growth from last month. It went up almost $2,000 to $61,691.08. My HSA, which I'm not currently contributing to this year because I don't have a qualifying high deductible health plan, but I'm hoping to get back on one for 2026. That grew to $11,495.89. And then my taxable brokerages ended at $30,332.41. My crypto, this is mostly in Bitcoin and Ethereum. This went up to $25,452.15. This brought my total assets at the end of September to $243,477.31. Now we have to subtract my liabilities to get my net worth. My first liability is my credit card statement balances. I pay off my statement balances every month on auto pay. So this is just what was still left on my statement balance at the end of the month, but I never pay interest on my credit cards. So at the end of September, I had $4,452.20 on my credit cards. And again, this is a little bit higher just because of that $1,800 that I paid towards my car this month. And then my other liability is my tax savings. Every time I get paid, I owe the government part of that money. So anything that I owe is technically a liability. So I do subtract that. And my tax savings came to a total of $631. Again, a little bit lower because I made that tax payment in September. So total liabilities ended at $5,083.20, bringing my net worth to $238,394.11, which was about a 4% increase from August and a little over $9,000. Another really solid month. I'm going to throw my whole year on screen here so you can see my progress all throughout this year. So since January, my net worth has gone up over $51,000, which is just insane. The market has definitely been really good to us the past 6 months or so. But as I'm filming this in October, it's doing some crazy ups and downs right now. But the ups and downs don't bother me. When it goes up, I get a shiny new net worth. But when it goes down, then I just get to buy at a discount. I don't mind either way, but it's definitely really fun to see my net worth grow over the year. Now we're gonna go over my October budget in YNAB. YNAB stands for You Need a Budget, and it is essentially a digital cash envelope budgeting system. So all of this money that you see on the right-hand side in the green and yellow bubbles is money that I actually physically have in my checking and savings accounts. So I don't do any forecast budgeting. I'm only budgeting based on income that I have already earned. And what I really love about YNAB is it basically treats all of your life expenses as sinking funds. So you'll see as we go through, for many of my categories, I don't spend from month to month. So what YNAB allows me to do is set aside money on a monthly basis, kind of like a monthly subscription towards these non-monthly expenses that come up. And then I have that money available and ready to go when they do come up. And you'll see that as we go through my budget. I'll point out which categories are like that. So my first category at the top, I am a month ahead in YNAB. So I budget off of the income that I made in the previous month minus what I put towards investing and taxes. This might be a little bit confusing just because we are halfway through the month and you're not seeing how I set up my budget at the beginning of the month with everything being blank. But basically all you have to know is that every time I get paid, I'm setting aside $775 towards my next month fund, $500 towards investing, and then $275 towards my taxes. And I do that every single time I get paid. And then at the beginning of every month, I take that $3,100 that I have in my next month fund to fund all of the categories that we're about to go through. So since we're already halfway through the month, I have received 2 paychecks so far from my contracting work. So you can see I've already set aside the 2 weeks of taxes, $550. I'm going to set aside another $550 as I continue to get paid this month. And then you can also see that I've already assigned over $1,000 into investing. 1,000 of that came from my 2 paychecks so far. Plus I've received $122.07 of extra income. Again, I am putting all of that extra income towards investing. So the first category that I budget for on a monthly basis is alcohol. I set aside $25 at the beginning of October. The reason that I track this separately is because over the summer we were being very social and going to pool parties and gatherings and such, and I would oftentimes bring like a case of cider or a bottle of wine. So I liked to have that money set aside as a separate expense from like groceries, for example. That's really the only reason that I have it separate, is just because I personally don't like that expense to come out of other categories. So $25, I have not spent any of this month. I'll probably just buy a bottle of wine later this month, and that's where that will go. Then for dining out, I budget $225 a month. So far, I've spent $42.23, so I have $182.77 left in this fund for the rest of the month, which is pretty good considering we are about halfway through. Then for groceries, I normally budget $300 a month, which I did do at the beginning of the month, and then I did end up moving some of this money down to household because we did a big Costco trip earlier this month and I just didn't have enough money in that fund. So I have $36.36 left to spend on groceries for the rest of this month. And then what will happen is when I run out of grocery money, then my boyfriend's grocery fund will kick in. He also uses YNAB, so we're able to track how much each of us is contributing to food pretty easily, and it'll all just even out at the end of the month. And then last in my food and drink category group is my supplements category. So this is one category that I don't always spend to zero every month. It's more of a sinking fund. I set aside $25 a month to build this money up. So you can see I did spend $34.57 so far this month, and that was buying some protein powder at Costco. So I have $40.43 left in this fund, and that will more than likely continue rolling over into the next months until I buy more supplements in the future. Moving on to my life variable expenses, I set aside $50 a month towards my decor and fixture fund. And again, pretty much all of these categories are sinking funds. So I'm not spending these down to zero every month. I am treating them as like a monthly subscription that I set aside money each month towards, and I can use that money in the future whenever. So I currently have $200 sitting in my decor and fixtures fund for whenever I feel like buying home decor. Same thing for gifts and good vibes. I am setting aside $100 a month, and this fund is currently at $450. I don't think I will actually be using any of this month, so this $450 will roll over into November, and then I do have a birthday in November that I need to buy for, so I will have money for that. Household, so this looks a little funky since I did move some grocery money down here, but I normally set aside $45 a month, and then you can see I moved some money from elsewhere to cover that big Costco purchase. And now I have $0 left in this category, but that is fine. I shouldn't need anything for the rest of this month. And then next month I will give myself another $45. Medical is another sinking fund. I'm currently setting aside $25 a month, and that is sitting at $400. Personal care, I did spend everything that I have in this category to get my hair cut. Then my seeing and doing category, this is basically entertainment entertainment, anything that you go see and do. We haven't been doing much since summer kind of came to a close, so this will continue building up and allow us to maybe like buy some concert tickets next year or go downtown, have a night out in Nashville, do some bar hopping. That's where I would spend from to do that. So that's currently building up $70 a month. Stuff and things. This is just my general physical object category. I set aside $35 a month. I have spent $18.66, and I currently have $16.34 left to spend from this category. Then therapy, I have been going once a month and it's $165 a session. However, we both agreed to stop scheduling me in advance, and instead it's going to be more of a as needed basis. So I may or may not use this 165, and if not, I'll just let this roll over into November and then just not fund it again in November. But for now, just letting that 165 sit in there in case I do make an appointment this month. And then travel, this is a spending category, so I never fund it here. I have a separate travel savings category down below, but I have this travel category in this life variable group just so that I can see it in this section on reports in YNAB. Moving on to Zeke the Freak, I put $12.50 aside for food and supplies every month. Probably will end up needing to get him some food later this month, which is fine. This $21.50 will cover that. Then I set aside $62.50 for my half of his grooming. Training, we're not currently setting aside any money for, but vet, I am setting aside $25 a month, and we did unfortunately have to go to the vet this month for him. He's totally fine, but he was sneezing and like reverse sneezing a lot, and he would have these several minute long bouts of reverse sneezing that just made me concerned, like, can you even breathe, my dude? So we ended up bringing him to the vet just to make sure that he didn't have any sort of like upper respiratory illness or anything contagious that could be passed to other dogs, because we like to take him to a dog park, and we were also thinking that it could have been something that he caught from the dog park, but luckily it was nothing contagious, no like illness. It was basically deemed to be allergies. Unfortunately, he is feeling much better now, but that cost $104.98, and I just decided to cover that. Normally my boyfriend and I will split costs, but I just covered that this time, and then he'll just cover the next bill. So I have $595.02 left in his vet fund, and then my boyfriend also has his separate vet fund. Next up, for fixed and recurring expenses, I set aside money for rent. I set aside $1,044, which my rent is $1,074, my half of the rent. However, a few months ago, they accidentally undercharged us for Wi-Fi. So I think at some point they're gonna ask for that $60 Wi-Fi fee back if they catch it. So I was keeping my half of the $60 Wi-Fi fee in this category, but I just decided to go ahead and spend it. And if they do come back for that $60, then I'll just find my half from somewhere else in my budget. Then electric and water, I set aside $110 every month. I'm spending about $100 on average, so that's totally fine. I can build up a little bit of a buffer in case we need more going into the winter months when we start using our heat. My gym is $15 a month, so just assign $15 there. Health insurance, $62.65. Phone bill, $38. Services and fees, this is kind of a catch-all category for things like my Costco membership renewal or my Chase annual fee, or if I go to the post office and need to pay for postage or something. I just set aside $15 a month to build up that fund. So I did end up spending $7.95 this month, and I have $47.05 left in this fund, which will just continue building up until I need to pay my Chase annual fee, which is $95 in March. Then subscriptions, this is both monthly and yearly subscriptions. I'm currently setting aside $50 a month. I've so far spent $15.31, and I have have $60.69 left in this fund, and that's another one that will just keep continuing to build up for my yearly expenses that come up. Then for my car, I set aside $45 for a tank of gas. Insurance and registration, this one does roll over month to month. I'm actually going to need it this month to pay for my car registration, which should be about $90 or so. And then I pay for my car insurance every 6 months. So I set aside $75 a month, currently have $225 in this fund, and this will just build up to make sure that I have enough when my next 6-month renewal comes up. Then my maintenance category, this is another spending category that I don't actually fund. I instead take money from my savings category down below. And again, I just have this category here to spend from for tracking purposes on reports. I like to see the maintenance happening under my car expenses and not from my savings. I think starting in the new year, I'll probably get away from having separate savings categories for things and just have everything be a spending/savings category. But for now, I'm just keeping it as I have always had it set up. My first savings category is my adventures fund. This is for trips and travel. Currently setting aside $100 a month, and this fund is at $650. I also have money on my Chase cards. I get rewards points that I use towards travel. So that's usually how I buy my plane tickets. And then my boyfriend also has a lot of hotel points. So we'll use his cards to get free hotels. And then we're basically just left with the food and entertainment costs, which is really nice. Next savings category is my car fund that I talked about. I set aside $200 a month, and this fund is currently setting at $7,600. Then I have my compassion category. This is my yearly donation category. So I set aside $100 a month, and this will reach $1,200 by December. And that is when I make a yearly donation. A lot of foundations will have really generous matching programs at the end of the year. So I like to maximize my donation. Next is my sock fund, AKA my clothing category. Right now I'm setting aside $10 a month, and this was spent down to $0 last month to buy that dress for the wedding that I attended. I pulled that money from this category, so I am starting from $0 this month, but that's fine because I really don't buy clothes that often. Next is my tech replacement fund, kind of an emergency fund for my electronics, or if I ever wanted to buy a camera for these YouTube videos. I currently use my phone, so I may be due to buy a camera soon, which would come out of this fund. Currently setting aside $10 a month. I will probably be increasing this in the new year, but I'm pretty happy with having that $740 set aside for now. And then my basic income replacement fund. This is an Arrested Development reference along with the banana stand. It's just a joke from the show if you've never seen it, but I currently don't contribute anything to my emergency fund because I'm pretty happy with where it's at. Currently, with being a month ahead in YNAB and having this income replacement fund, I can very comfortably sustain my life for over 3 months. And I feel very secure in my income and my job. So I don't feel the need to really have more than 3 months of expenses saved up. Plus, I consider everything in my accounts to be able to be used towards an emergency should that need arise. So yeah, I feel totally comfortable having that as my emergency fund for now. And that is it. That is how I have budgeted my money for the month of October and how October is going for me. Thank you so much if you stayed till the end of this video. I really appreciate it. If you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing, and I will catch you all in the next video. All right, bye guys.